Noah Syndergaard does keto, and he eats like an animal. So we're gonna do a morning routine with him. What's up, dude?
What's up, man?
What's happening?
Good to see you.
Good to finally meet you, man.
Nice to meet you.
This is JR.
What's up, dude?
How's it going, JR? I just picked up some of this because the bag was cool, and then you got OG bulletproof coffee. So I figured we could try some of this bougie stuff.
Yeah, so I'll just go black. So we're gonna do some rower. I'm gonna stay somewhat
Those
passive.
beans are
Nice and oily.
Yeah, is that a good thing? I don't know. I had to let it bloom. Just recently learned about that. But I love, like, I'm big into grounding, earthing, getting natural sunlight, getting cold. I haven't done like a long-term fast, but I would like to do one of those eventually. But it's just so hard to do, like, with deep into a training regimen.
Yeah. Do you do much of your, at least your morning routine, your training in the morning in a fasted state, or are you usually, or having at least a little bit of coffee with some cream and stuff first?
So typically I've been do the cold plunge, and then I always like to do the cold plunge faster. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just feel like
Even digestively.
if you eat something and then jump in the cold tub, like the cold tub stops everything in your body.
Yeah.
So I like doing that. And then I would just make some coffee, bring it down to the garage, do some rowing, warm up, get in the sauna, read, drink my coffee in the sauna.
Yeah. Perfect.
Typically how
What kind of sauna do you?
I have a clear light.
Okay. So is that IR and dry at the same time? Or just IR?
I think it's just infrared.
Okay. Yeah.
I had a, did I say clear light or sunlit?
Clear light.
I have a sunlit actually.
Do you ever do it inverse, the opposite? Go sauna first and then cold plunge?
When I had the clear light, I would do that. I mean, when I was in Florida doing my rehab, I was just like, eat, breathe, and sleep recovery. I didn't go do anything. I didn't go out. I had the chef. I'd go to the gym, do my rehab for a couple hours, and then I would come back and I would just do more recovery.
Do you got to get like with either Nordic sauna or Almost Heaven or one of those that can do like a 4x4, like, because I don't know if you'd have room for a barrel sauna here, or if you want to, you can put a barrel sauna, but
those would be really cool to have one outside.
To be able to get the, you've probably seen on my Instagram, like, I mean, I've rigged mine so it can get up to like 240 degrees.
Wow.
And
the barrel or the
barrel.
You have a Nordic sauna too?
Well, so the Nordic is a barrel, but then I also have a Nordic 4x4, which is it's a dry sauna, but it doesn't get as hot. It gets up to like 180. It's just like the way it's set up, it just can't. The barrel, the way that kind of convection works, is it can get really effing hot, but it gets hot like towards the top. So really, like, what I end up doing is standing up or sitting up, like putting a block on the bench and sitting up so I'm higher. The cold therapy and what that does as far as stem cells, as far as everything in that world. But then heat shock proteins, like the chaperoning proteins involved with that, are just super cool, especially in line with ketones and kind of what I'm doing there. So I'm not the best like cold therapy guy, but I can tolerate 240 degrees pretty well.
I'm the opposite. I don't tolerate heat very well at all.
Are you familiar with like heat shock proteins and that?
I've heard of them. I'm not like too familiar with them though.
You basically have like your proteins in your cells, like they go through folding and unfolding, like literally like constantly. It's like how the cells are forming and stuff. And when there's oxidative stress and everything like that, the folding process just becomes like misguided. And just basically, it's like natural process where eventually you're going to have cells that are not forming properly, and it's just totally par for the course. So heat shock proteins are chaperoning proteins. So they take those folds and they essentially are like, if you think of like bowling with the bumpers on, it's kind of like making it so that they're in a track and can actually fold and unfold properly. So you're like forcing that to happen. So your rejuvenation, if you want to call it that, isn't necessarily accelerated, but the part that is occurring is significantly more efficient. So by default, it becomes accelerated, if that makes sense, because everything is happening much more efficiently.
Shorts, and then we can plunge.
That's perfect. Let's do it.
Yeah, I was really big into doing like time on the cold tub. I'll set a stopwatch just to see how long I'm in there for. I think if you focus on your breath and just like be present, it's a lot more than just counting down the seconds.
Yeah.
I typically come out here and I stare at the water for about 5 minutes before I jump in. But I like doing this in the morning. Just start off the morning with a small but kind of large win. I don't know if they are related at all, but feel like doing the cold tub and doing like just mundane chores like doing the dishes or doing laundry has made it so much easier.
Yeah.
Because of course, who wants to do laundry or doing the dishes? Like,
Yeah.
But that's not a selling point to the cold tub, but it's just one thing I've noticed.
All right, I'll give you your peace and serenity.
The worst part is the 30 seconds getting in and then warming up afterwards, but it's not so bad. It's funny that light stim bed I was telling you about.
Yeah.
I mean, there were 40-minute sessions, and I would just put my phone next to me and binge watch your YouTube channels. Or binge listen. Oh, nice. 4 minutes.
You have to just naturally end up there, huh?
You normally box breathe, or what do you do?
Yeah. I try to find my breath like the first 45 seconds in there. So like try not to hyperventilate as much, and then just slow down as much as I can, and then do a couple rounds of box breathing.
You reach this point where all of a sudden you can get a full diaphragmatic breath, and it's like orgasmic.
Yeah. 4 minutes.
Oh my god, that's the best I've felt in a while, actually.
How's your sleep been since doing it in the morning? Has it changed, or have you been much of a?
I sleep pretty good.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll wake up sporadically throughout the night just because I have to take a pee. I just like doing a 250 meter somewhat hard sprint until I warm up.
My concept with keto is, periods of really strict. So the main benefit for me, you've probably seen videos on this, but it's called histone deacetylase inhibition, basically where your high levels of ketones will allow basically gene expression for all kinds of different things to happen. So without it sounding like woo-woo weird witch doctor, it's basically unlocking more potential, right? But if you live in fairy tale land, like unlocking potential all the time, you also have to take a little bit of a grain of salt from what actually stimulates actual growth, which is an insulin spike. So like if you go ketones all the time, you're unlocking all this genetic potential, but never actually like spearheading the actual growth. So
it's like periods of ketogenesis for that gene expression. So I'm like keto like 7-8 months out of the year, and then periods of time where never high carb, never more than like 120 grams of carbs a day ever, but strategically having them implemented so that I'm going through these phases of like a diet more for my genetics and then a diet more for building off of that. That makes sense. So it's like
you would have them at night, carbs at night.
So generally yes, because it would help me sleep.
Yeah, I sleep better when I have.
Yeah, but I carb backload too. So like depending on what my training is like, if I'm doing a lot of endurance work, because I'm a big runner, so I mean I still run. Not now, not as much, but between 40 and 60 miles a week. So I run a lot. So I can usually get away with going for a 10-mile run and then coming back, having 40 grams of carbs from usually fruit and maybe a little bit of like a red potato, and then go into a lifting session an hour or two later and pretty much never be out of ketosis. I mean, it's like you're just sucking it right back up. Sure. So it's like, what's the goal? Is the goal to be a carb like freak and be afraid of carbs, or is the goal to remain in a mild state of ketosis? Because if you can do that while still maintaining some carb integrity in your diet, that's a win-win if you ask me. Because if you still yeah, exactly.
Off of electricity and gas.
Exactly. Oh, man, definitely weak on that.
Those are hard.
Yeah, I'm gonna go lighter on that. If you can maintain mass while doing a lot of endurance work, fundamentally, that is like a sign of a sound body. And the way I say that is because like, if your body goes to any kind of, so think about like sarcopenia, like when we start to waste muscle, when we start to break down tissue as we get older, it's like, in essence, kind of the first sign of like death creeping in, right? When you start wasting muscle. So if you put yourself into like an accelerated chamber, let's just call it that hypothetically, of endurance work, in which an accelerated chamber in which in most circumstances you'd be catabolizing and breaking down muscle, and you cannot break down muscle in that kind of scenario, that is like the ultimate litmus test to demonstrate that someone is of sound, like healthy physical body, because you're not breaking down muscle tissue even under intense endurance circumstances. So it's like a life accelerator. Does that make sense?
Yeah. He lives in the house for sure. Yeah.
So when I see some, I'm sure there's ways to combat it, obviously, like lifting stimulus and stuff like that. But like that's kind of my pinnacle for health for myself. I'm like, if I can do a shitload of endurance work, a shitload of aerobic work, and still maintain mass, then I know my body is recovered. My body is in a state where it wants to maintain that mass. Because I feel like it's like a very fine line between when the body wants to start breaking down muscle tissue. I don't know. That's just a theory for me, but I respect anyone that can maintain mass while doing a load of aerobic work. All in all, the elbow's feeling pretty good?
Yeah, it feels great now. For the most part, I just cook with butter or tallow or suet, actually. So we need goat milk?
Yeah. Good cream, dude.
One batch I had that they sent me, it was like straight up like pudding, and it was super thick.
That's the way it should be.
Only way to do it right there.
That and this part. There's little bits of stearic acid that you get out of it.
Yeah, that's why I used suet to cook with.
You ever have goat cream though? Straight up like cream from goat?
I haven't, but you can buy it.
Yeah, I would recommend that, and that is a little lower saturated fat content. It's still saturated fat, of course, but
It's just empty.
yeah, it's got like 30%.
Hold on to this.
30% MCTs in it too.
Really?
Goat milk and goat cheese is the highest concentration of like naturally occurring medium chain triglycerides. So like I almost always use goat butter, goat cheese,
It's like the only cheese that I'll have. Not because I'm opposed to other cheese, but it's just like, it's naturally gonna be A2, so the casein's different anyway. So much easier to digest. Much easier on the gut.
Oh, look at this.
Oh, hell yeah.
Raw cow milk, frozen, all bone broth and dairy.
Dude, that is badass. I gotta try this company.
Well, Dutch Meadows is where they ship their eggs like this. I used to get my eggs from Amos Miller, which is where I get like the ketchup, the tallow.
Yeah.
But this is how they ship their eggs. And it's unbelievable. Those are duck
Yogurt
eggs
too, or is this a different? Is this the same
that's
company?
water buffalo yogurt.
Dude, that is unreal. That is badass.
They have kefir too. I like kimchi too. Like kimchi, like that's not like super carnivore, but
Yeah.
oh, cheers.
Cheers, man.
Rip the sauna.
Let's hit it. Today's video sponsor is a company called Seed, and I want to go ahead and shout them out first. If you are trying to do things for better gut diversity, if you're trying to support your microbiome by eating fruits, by eating vegetables, I think it's relevant to mention that they are awesome. So they are the probiotic that I use. So people ask me all the time, what probiotic do I recommend? And Seed is just about the only one that I recommend these days. I've been taking it for about 1.5 years. It is a Synbiotic, so it has a probiotic and a prebiotic effect. So it's got the prebiotic fibers to help support the actual probiotics that are in it. And if you look at it, it's got a capsule inside of a capsule. So it sort of has this staging in terms of how it breaks down in our body, which is pretty cool, which can help out with colonization of the bacteria that is in the probiotic. So definitely recommend you check them out. You can save 15% off by using the link down below in the description because they are such an awesome sponsor. So that link's down below.
Get hot. Just take it. Have you thought about doing like stem cells?
That's kind of what I'm alluding to. Like, if you know a good person, but stem cells are 100% like a 50-50 thing, right?
Yeah.
It can work, or it can just be a total waste of money. But
Well, I think if you do like your own like bone marrow, not like
yeah, like a
a placenta,
Yeah.
like something that's not from you. Have you ever heard of a pan company called Salad Masters? That's all like a special stainless steel that doesn't leach metal into the pans.
Salad master. Okay, so we got ribeyes, we got some marrow.
How many eggs do you want?
I'll probably do 4 eggs if we're doing some steaks too. How many do you usually do?
I'll do 4.
Okay.
You want to crack the eggs?
Yeah. Oh, these are nice and big considering too.
Oh, those are duck eggs.
Oh, sweet. Is this okay? So is this a mix here, or are these all duck right here?
They're all duck. They're kind of a little more challenging to crack.
They're gonna be a little bit. Yeah, for sure. Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, the yolks are freaking. You like your eggs sunny side up?
I'll eat them whatever. Yeah, sunny side's
I like
perfect.
doing sunny side up just because it keeps the nutritional integrity of the yolk.
Do you ever do some of the shell too, or no?
If some falls in there, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a wives' tale. Like the calcium is not, first of all, very bioavailable in the shell, but then the last thing we need is more calcium in our diets.
So you're not a fan of a little shell in there?
No, I mean I don't care. It's not like I'm not going to go out of my way to dig it out. I don't believe in, especially adding calcium through like supplementation or just additionally. We're so calcium dominant as a society anyway. Everything's fortified. And if you're getting enough vitamin D, calcium is really not too much of an issue anyway. Use a little tallow or ghee. Is that what you want to use for the egg?
I've been doing butter recently, but
Doesn't matter to me.
you can do a hybrid of both butter and tallow. I feel like I love me some non-stick pans, but those aren't like super non-stick, but I've been having a lot of good success by using butter.
Let's do a combination of ghee and tallow.
Okay.
That's cool. The ghee is a little better on the smoke point, and then also the higher butyrate.
Salt the steak first, or wait till after to add the salt?
Let's do it after.
Okay.
Yeah. Denatures the proteins a little bit.
2 or 3 minutes sear on each side. Put it in the oven for 10 minutes or so. I would do like kind of a lower heat, and then I like to cover the eggs. My culinary expertise is super high.
Preaching to the choir here, man.
Yeah, White Oak Pastures. Have you heard of them?
Just from you.
Just from Georgia. They're not Amish, but they're just like the epitome of regenerative farming.
Any cheeses at all?
Yeah.
Whenever we can go aged, let's go aged.
Is that aged?
Yeah. If it's the same, yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, it's raw too, right?
Yep. Gouda has the highest vitamin K content of any cheese too. So if you're doing a bunch of vitamin D rich eggs, combining it with K2 from the Gouda is like a little secret hack. Where did you go to school?
I got drafted out of high school.
Oh, sweet.
I was committed to go to Dallas Baptist University.
Yeah. I don't know, not being afraid of a rodent study too, I think is a lot. Like people like take a rodent model and then take a human model, like observational study, and they don't want to take what happens in a rodent model to the bank in a human model. So if it stops at if we have like good outcomes with a rodent model study, and then we go over to and it never progresses to a human model, which is extremely expensive, then like the buck stops there. That doesn't make sense. Like, okay, you had success in a rodent model, but you don't have the funding to push it further in human. Does that mean it's unsafe to practice that on yourself? You know, that's what like a lot of my channel is about. It's like, okay, I take the rodent model studies and I take that. And I'm like, okay, well, if there's no funding to do this on the human side, then I'm going to test it on myself, do my own blood work, do my own metrics, and figure out what's working. And then kind of reverse engineer stuff. And then you can look at like the big data from like observational studies, like what's happening with people in large cohorts and large groups. So like mechanistic human studies, like you can't, the stuff you and I are talking about, you can't put a human in a metabolic chamber for a year and monitor the response that you can with a rat, right? For sure. So it's like you're never going to be able to have an answer unless you're looking at purely an observational study. And what good is an observational study? I mean, granted, observational studies are amazing and they tell us a lot, but they don't tell us the mechanistic stuff. They don't tell us what's actually happening. And I would say that there is a large percentage of curious individuals that only can be motivated if they have a mechanistic understanding. Like I'm that way. Like you could tell me like, hey, we have 100 people that lost weight doing this. If you can't tell me why or a potential reason as to why, it's hard for me to take that with a grain of salt and run with it. Like I want to know what's happening in my body so that I can reverse engineer and come at it.
Right.
There we go.
I try to keep my windows between like 12 and 12. Sometimes like wait a little longer, maybe 16 and 8. I'm sorry about that too.
Totally, man. Yeah, that's same here. 12 is my baseline every day.
I don't really need to have 3 meals a day necessarily. I just like 2 big ass meals and be good.
Or switch it up, you know, like I do. Always keep the 12-12 and then periodically do like 20 hours. Just, you know, try to, but also don't be afraid to like, do a 12-12 and then have 2 big meals and then do a 12-12 and then graze throughout one day. It's like always about conditioning with the pancreas too, right?
Like graze as in like just constantly eat.
Yeah, do that like take 1 day a week where you have like a grazing day. Because I mean you're gonna have, again, like you try to live, how would this be from a ancestral way of like looking at things? Like, okay, if we're fasting, there's gonna be periods of time where we're not eating, right? There's gonna be periods of time where we're feasting, but there's also gonna be periods of time where you come across a bunch of nuts and berries and things like that, and you're just grazing all day because you've got it. So it's like always, I know people with like one school of thought always, people are like, oh no, snacking throughout the day is great, or no, these 3 square meals, or 2 square meals, or 1 meal a day. It's like, why not all of it? Get your body conditioned to all of it. Because I think like, being able to, there's something to be said about possibly getting the pancreas to be able to respond to a small amount of food too, and do, because you know, an acute insulin spike is better than no insulin spike whatsoever as long as it comes back down. So.
Because you were the one that told me about doing a lift while you're fasting.
Okay.
Oh, I love doing that.
Decon it is almost twice the amount. And the
duck egg?
Omega-3 ratio is a little bit better, not negligible. It's just the vitamin D content. And the yolk to white ratio is
When I was doing a lot of my training in the morning, I would just have like coffee, bone broth, or with a bunch of cream butter. Go work out. But now that my throwing kind of takes precedent, I don't want to be like super smoked when I'm throwing. So I'll just do everything afterwards. And it's like half and half, probably half the morning. Because I like my mornings. I like my mornings just to build a nice routine, get ready for the day. It's kind of hard to do that when you gotta like go train at 9:30.
You ever tried shifting up your eating periods and just like skipping dinner?
I thought about that, yeah. But then, like last night, when I got done with everything, I got home and like, so I trained around 1, went to the beach, walked on the beach for an hour, and then I had a Nova Thor beamer session at 4:30. That was like 30 to 45 minutes. 5 to 10 takes me another 20 minutes to get home. And I went to the grocery store before, so I got home at 6, and when I got done eating, it was 7:30.
Well, like that would be a perfect day to say, rather than eating at 7:30, like just have super lean protein like in between your sessions or something like that, like a small gap, so you're not like heavy digestive load. Just kill it. Try skipping dinner and then increase your calories by like 30% in the morning after a day where you skip dinner, and just see how your performance is that day. I think you'll find it to be.
Definitely want to try that.
We're the only creatures that cook our food. Right? So for how many centuries, millennia, we've been actually cooking with a flame. So we've developed digestive and enzymatic ability to cook. So are we going retroactive by going raw and everything? It's like we've actually developed the ability to handle cooked food, which is from all the way down to the mastication, like how you do it, how you chew it, how you do everything, how you digest it is totally different. So he like started citing some evidence that was pretty interesting where he was talking about, if anyone remembers it, put it in the comment section because I can't remember the guy's name and I can't find the video anymore. But it like made so much sense. It's like we have developed that ability to handle cooked food, and could that be a link to why we have had like leaps and bounds in terms of IQ and everything like that, where we actually extracted nutrients from cooking that we weren't extracting from raw. It's allowing our brains to develop more, making things more bioavailable. And vitamin D can definitely become more available once it's heated to a certain point, and then it goes overboard. It's just an interesting thing to think about. Like,
That's my argument. Like people that do vegan diets, I'm like, we wouldn't be humans if we evolutionary evolved. Like, not eating plants. We'd eat gorillas.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just did a video on this. I was like, probably the most important rule for fasting is like keeping moving during a fast and training towards the end of a fasting period. You're reminding your body that your muscles are relevant. You know, it's like if you fast, you're not eating, and then you do nothing, of course the body's going to break down muscle tissue, but if you're actually stimulating a localized mTOR response, then your body's going to maintain the muscle because it's going to deem it as relevant.
There we go. Wow. So good every time.
You mind if I put a little bit on top?
Go for it.
Yeah, this marrow is awesome. I notice you don't use a ton of salt. You just, is it a taste thing? I load up on salt.
I love salt. Give me motivation to use more.
Yeah. Your size and low carb content, and yeah, you could probably eat that whole thing of salt.
Have you had it's called Element? Yeah, I like those a lot. My favorite's probably like grapefruit or raspberry.
Grapefruit's unreal, but I think that was a temporary flavor. So
Yeah. Or watermelon's really good too.
watermelons. Yeah.
These bones are hearty.
There's a lot of fat in them. It's awesome.
I hate when you get a bone and it's like hardly any marrow in it, or if there is, you can't get it out.
Yeah. I cooked marrow for him, and he just like devours it. Especially, it's so funny. Like, tell him like he'll eat anything if he associates it with being a T-Rex. See that? Yeah, that Netflix show. my octopus teacher or whatever.
I wasn't crazy about that one.
No, that was creeped me out actually. It's like you had like a love affair with the
Yeah,
octopus.
like a little romantic. Freaking cold in Dallas right now too. It's like
Has been
30
cold.
degrees.
Yeah.
That's why I moved out here, because like I signed a 1 year deal with Angel, so it's like a 1 year deal, like make or break kind of thing for the rest of my career. Like we could be talking like, if I have a really good year this year, you could be talking like a 6 or 7 year deal north of 100 million or so. So like, or if I don't have that good of a year, then it'll be interesting. I'll just continue to sign like 1 year deals wherever I go. So I would just want some security in my life. And the baseball compound that we're going to after this, like the guy that runs it, like, he's a really legit pitching mind. And there's just like a lot of good camaraderie there. There's like yesterday we went through and there's probably 10 guys there. Whereas in Dallas it's like, I need to be able to throw outside, and right now it's 30 degrees, or it could be rainy, or the next day it could be randomly super sunny.
Yeah.
Whew, wow, they hit the spot.